Made in USA, a film directed by Jean-Luc Godard, released in 1966, is the final collaboration, at least until a short segment from a later film, between him and his then wife, Anna Karina, that is both an homage and a pastiche to various film noirs. In fact, the film itself has characters not only named after detective and mystery writers, but also a lot of actors and filmmakers who worked in popularizing the genre that became to be known as film noir. And despite its very kind of big sleep, twisty narrative that it has, it is ultimately about liberal political infighting, which I think is hilarious upon second viewing. But despite that, it's also a movie that Jean-Luc Godard also tries to push the idea of the artifice of cinema. It is a film that is almost made to look like a collage. He uses elements that would be not out of place in a comic book. It's brightly colored. It is completely a movie about being a movie almost, as well as its own communist and Marxist and Maoist political leanings. But ultimately, it's a good example of what a Jean-Luc Godard, especially his later works in the 60s, ultimately is. This is Godard away from his black and white films. This is Godard away from playing around with editing. Although he is still playing around with it. This is Godard now being confident and still wanting to challenge audiences. But this is also Godard now leaning more and more towards his more Marxist ideals before fully committing to his politics and being part of a filmmaking group in the 70s. But ultimately, it is a movie by a guy who loves movies. And it's a movie that clearly inspired a lot and has left a mark on my own filmmaking. Welcome to another episode of Enriquez and Gudino.
Thank you for that introduction.
All right, so one thing I wanted to try, because I feel like we just kind of hop into the movies and maybe kind of twist it around and stuff that's going on. I think I want to give a little bit of our audience, just a little bit about us, man. Like, I feel like we just kind of hop into movies and don't exactly go into like, did you watch any movies this week? What did you do this week? I feel it's just like, let's talk movie, and then our personality comes out. I feel like we should give the audience a little bit of us, despite that. So, did you watch anything this week, Jonathan?
I watched Fast 5.
How was that?
I enjoyed it. I was kind of mad because I was at my mom's house yesterday, and then because I connected her internet to her house.
Did she not have internet before?
Well, she moved from a little trailer to a bigger trailer.
Right.
She was trying to rent it out, and she's like, it's so nice, I might as well just move in here, because she lives in a shack. So
a shack?
A shack of a trailer, dude. It's just a dreadful... She's going to sell it, but I had to connect the Wi-Fi from the office, which is the farthest point, but it has internet.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. So I had to connect the Wi-Fi to a Linksy system, then go to my mom's house, which is probably like 30 feet from her window, because it's like one trailer and then her trailer, right?
Right.
So there's 3 trailers total. So the one in the middle is separating. So my mom's trailer is behind the laundromat, but I had to connect the Wi-Fi to a little extension thing. So I watched I connected her Peacock to it, like her from the internet we have, Xfinity.
Right.
And I saw the Fast and Furious movies while I was scrolling through the movies, and I was just like, fuck, dude, let me go to Fast 5. Because I was at my mom's house eating some Panda Express we ordered the day before. My sister was going to eat it, but she didn't come to my mom's house to pick it up. My sister lives around the corner.
She missed out.
Yeah. So I ate her chicken and rice, and I was just like,
what kind of chicken? Hold on. What kind
orange
of
chicken from
Orange
Panda
chicken.
Express.
Okay. There you go. That's the only choice.
Okay, so I was looking at the thing the day before when we were ordering, and I got the orange chicken because I have to eat more chicken now. I can't eat red meat.
How did it happen? Real quick.
My blood results came in, and my psychiatrist was like,
your psychiatrist?
She's like, your cholesterol is at a 215. It needs to be at a 200. You need to stop eating red meat. You need to eat more chicken, turkey, fish, stuff like that. So I had to dumb down the red meat because it's affecting my cholesterol. So...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How long before you go would you ever consider going vegetarian?
I did vegetarian for 9 months.
And
I, just how Michael called out, oh, how pretentious were you, 10 years ago. I was a 16, 17-year-old emo kid, and I was just like, we're killing the animals. We're hurting the animals.
See, I
did it for 9 months. Yeah.
I know people have to eat. The only reason I've ever gone vegetarian in the past is because it actually led to like maybe a healthier lifestyle for me. Combine that with this is when I was living in Chicago, and I was cycling everywhere because I didn't own a car. I didn't need to own a car, so I cycled everywhere.
You were in Chicago because of film school, right?
Because of art school, yeah. And then I stayed there to try to kind of make life out of there. And this is post art school. This is me trying to make a life out there. And this is me now living in the city, sharing, being roommates with, moving in with my now wife, and then also living with 3 other roommates.
You met her here, right?
I met her here. Okay. We met in high school. We both went to our respective higher educational schools, and then she moved out to Chicago with me after I graduated because
You're a stud, dude. Fuck you, man.
Look, man, and this is us having a half long distance relation. This is us dating for about 4.5 years, and most of that being long distance.
And she came to you
because she liked Chicago. She liked the architecture. She liked living. She liked what was it like out there. So
I told a girl to come visit me in Sacramento once. She's from San Jose. She's like, "What the fuck am I gonna do there?"
She made a mistake. I've been to San Jose. I feel like there's nothing out there except for the friggin' the
Silicon Valley shit.
The Silicon Valley shit, and also the university, UC San Jose or whatever.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man.
And this bitch wasn't even going to school. She was working at a freaking movie theater. She was those people that take your tickets or gives you tickets.
Yeah.
An usher, I think they're called.
Yeah, I mean, I guess ushers like the people who go into the thing. Back in the day,
she gave tickets.
Back in the day, the usher was the guy. This is movie related now. The usher was the guy who had their little flashlight that had that looked like a little mini fat lightsaber. I don't know if you remember those flashlights.
Yeah.
It's the ones almost like the ones that you see the people who work on at airports who
Okay.
Yeah. Like those.
Yeah.
Ushers used to have those. Or they would just have a flashlight, and they would go into the
why
into the movie theater to kind of check to make sure everybody
had
tickets was there,
because they didn't have cameras back then to see he snuck in or whatever.
Yeah, but also if someone had a problem, you would call an usher over and just hey, that guy right there, he's disrupting the movie.
Yeah.
He's disrupting the movie. I'm trying to watch Star Wars. Yeah. I've never seen this movie in my life. I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah.
And this guy over here is just got stolen from Flash Gordon.
I went to the movies with my uncle once in Mexico, and he's a schizophrenic. He passed away a couple years ago, but I went to see. I still owe him flowers. He's like, when I die, bring me flowers. I haven't gone to Mexico yet.
Okay.
But either way, this motherfucker and I went to the movie theater and we watched Zootopia. He's like, damn, that bunny's thick as fuck, or whatever, right? And I'm just like, Theo, you can't talk in a movie. I think we even watched...
You can talk in a movie. It's just you can't talk too loud.
No, I was just like... Because he was just being that guy. And I was just
being that guy?
He wasn't like, hey, man. He was like, damn, that bunny rabbit's thick, man. I'm like, dog, uncle, there was probably one other person in there. Okay. But I didn't want to ruin it for that one person. If it was just me and him...
No, go on. I want to hear... Is that it? Because I have a funny story about...
Give it to me. Give it to me.
My wife and I went to go see X-Men Apocalypse when it came out. And that was back when we used to have 2 movie theaters in this town.
The Oscar Isaac one?
Yes. Okay. Where he played Apocalypse. So, there used to be 2 movie theaters in this town. When I was a child growing up here in Woodland. Yeah. So, there's on Main Street the State Theater, which is the oldest theater in town. And
the one that's still there?
Yes. But it was closed down for almost 10 years because it went out of business. But they couldn't tear it down because it was a landmark.
Historical landmark, yeah. We have one like that in U.S.A. City.
So, on the other side of town, across Gibson, going that way, going south towards Davis, over by the mall, we had our mall that is like 99.9% dead. It's just like a few stores that's still around. There's JCPenney.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
I think it's worth. I'm surprised like these kind of like dead mall YouTubers haven't showed up to like fucking film inside
the
here.
one in Woodland.
Yeah, because it's like it's perfect for it.
Yeah.
But on that side of town, there is a movie theater that had 5 rooms. It was a 5-screen movie theater. The one downtown used to be a 3-screen movie theater, 1 big screen and 2 little ones.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it was back when like, okay, this movie theater has these movies, this one doesn't. So essentially, some certain movies could not be played at the same time. There was like an agreement almost, right? So when the State Theater closed down for whatever reason, we would always go to the other one. It was the default one. Otherwise, you go to Davis or you go to like Natomas to the big mega theater. So my wife and I, the Regal one. My wife and I go to the one in the mall. In the parking lot in the mall, and we go in there and we go to see this newest X-Men movie. And there were only 2 other people there. These 2 girls sitting like almost like a row or 2 in front of us. And my wife and I were enjoying the movie. You know, we're like talking, kind of joking about it because it's a dumb superhero movie. Come on, like, I mean that's it's fun. And we're kind of like joking and messing around. That's how we like enjoy movies a little bit, but you're not trying to be disruptive. But these fucking girls,
shut the fuck up.
They literally turn around and just like, "Are you gonna be talking through the whole movie?" And at that point, it was like a flight response.
And what would you pick?
Listen
here, you stupid bitch.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I should have said, yeah, we will be, but instead we just like it was either a choice of like we get up and move to like some seats away from these 2 losers, and like continue enjoying the movie which we wanted to enjoy, or we sit down quietly, and we ended up just sitting down quietly, and the movie was worse for it because it's just like this movie like doesn't take it's like so silly you can't take it seriously, and these fucking girls are just like sitting there watching it in like dead silence.
We're watching cinema.
They're watching it in dead silence, and it's just like, how can you sit there and like watch this movie without like reacting? It's so fucking crazy. Like fucking Magneto destroyed Auschwitz.
Yeah.
You sat there silently. It's not you with no reaction. Fuck you,
dude. I went to it was a Tuesday, and I got to the movie theater like 11:30 in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. So a few hours after right now. It's 9:30 right now. Right. So I'm at the movie theater.
Recording, yeah.
I'm in Mexico, and I used to go with my money. My mom would send me money from America. Because I was just a deadbeat son. I was a stay-at-home son. So in my grandparents' property.
That's why you have to go to America to make it. Look, we have to go to America.
Doug, I left Austin, Texas to go to Mexico. I was just doing things backwards, right? So I go to the fancy movie theater.
I want to hear this.
No. You have a thought. Get it out.
Is it? There's a weird, like romantic, like fantastical idea that just like, man, should just give up trying to live in America, try to make it in Mexico. I feel like the ceiling, the bar for success is a lot lower there.
Bro, I was trying to go to Peru because I heard of a mine where you work 30 days in a gold mine, and on the 30th day for one day, whatever you get is yours, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'll go to Peru. My car broke down in the city that my family's from.
Fuck.
I was just like, I did not plan that out. My car just like...
And then you just lived in Mexico for...
And then I stayed in Mexico for a year and 2 months.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah. Cool. I was worried about like being like losing my citizenship. And then one side of me was like, fuck it. I ain't going back. What do I need to go back for? I'm over here living good. Well, either way, I go to the fancy movie theater in Colima, right?
Mm-hmm, Colima.
They have like a... I forgot what it's... I forgot what it's called, but we have Plaza San Fernando. There's a Cinemark there. We have another one down the street from where
Cinemark. That was the company that owned the movie theater, but at the mall.
Cinemark's the one that owns the U.S.A. That's the only one we have now.
I haven't been to a Cinemark in years.
Where do you go to?
Either I go to the two Regals over in Davis, or I used to go to the Regal in Natomas, or I go to the fucking Cinema West that owns the State Theater now.
You ever been to the United Artists one over there in Elk Grove?
I haven't been. I don't go to Elk Grove.
Dude, I just randomly been going to random movie theaters lately. I feel like a serial killer, dude. It's like I'm planning my next murder or something.
I'm adding this movie onto the list because my wife bought it for me for my birthday. There's a movie called Targets that was Peter Bogdanovich, who passed away a few years ago as well, I think last year. He's one of these like kind of Hollywood new Hollywood like movie brat types.
Yeah.
These guys who grew up and like ate movies as kids and then converted all their knowledge into filmmaking knowledge. But his first movie was called Targets. This is after he was working for Roger Corman for like essentially cutting his teeth as like an editor and like a director, working for Roger Corman, making these like horrible B movies or average B movies really. But his first movie, he got Boris Karloff, Mr. Frankenstein, from like the original Frankenstein, and who was now slumming it in these movies before he would die in 1970. But 1968, he's making this movie. And it's essentially about, like, it's two storylines. One is about Boris Karloff's character named Byron Orlock. So he's essentially playing himself, and it's meant to be a showcase for Boris. And it's about him deciding to retire and making his last, like, public appearance at this, like, movie theater drive-in. And the other storyline...
The B story?
They're both A stories. They're like two stories that converge eventually towards the end.
They link
the
up.
Other story,
they memento.
yeah. The other story is about this normal-looking young man who's maybe a little too obsessed with guns, who just decides to go on a shooting spree. Okay. And I think it's a brilliant movie, but also just like, bruh, Peter Bogdanovich kind of really got modern day public shooter correctly. This is
some people like
because like before then it was like the main example was fucking the tower shooter in Texas.
Austin, yeah.
So that was the main one, which is also has a really great documentary that is animated for that. So that's also going on our list. But it's just like he had that as inspiration, and it's like this dude kind of
Targets came out what year?
1968.
That's 65 was when the shooting happened,
and
so it was very fresh at that time.
There's also some visual references to the Kennedy assassination in it too. So it's a brilliant movie. I won't talk about it much because I do want you to see it because you're going to be blown away by it.
Yeah.
You'll be fucking blown away.
But me running to different movie theaters reminded you?
Because spoilers, it climaxes at a drive-in movie theater, and this dude's just kind of driving around.
You been to the one in Roseville? Or
I've never been. I always wanted to go. I just never made time for it. But I will. I'll try. Anyways, it reminds me of that.
Okay. Okay, so I went to this movie theater in Mexico. It's like the snazzy area of fucking Colima. I go into the movie theater. And this is what I do now. I go to the restroom before I go to the movie every time. Mm-hmm. Whether I have to go or not. Mm-hmm. I'll sit.
It's good. It's good.
Because I had this terrible experience. It was probably 2015. I could be wrong. The last... what's the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, like with a bow and arrow?
Oh, Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games. I think it was the last...
The Hungy Games.
The last Hunger Games, right? And I showed up at 11:30 in the morning. No one was there. So I had the whole movie theater to myself, right? But I had to take a fat shit. So in my mind was like, I could probably just pull down my pants, pop a squat, and shit right here in the movie theater, like in the walkway. I didn't do that. I held it uncomfortably for the whole 2.5 hour movie or whatever. I could have got up and but I would have missed. I don't even remember the movie.
Yeah, what exactly did you miss? Because look, man, if I gotta go, regardless of how much I'm enjoying the movie, I gotta go. I'm willing. I am willing to hold going number one for almost the entire length of a movie. Yeah. But if I gotta go drop the kids off at the pool, man, those kids can't wait.
I just probably wasn't responsible or anything, dude. Why am I at the movie theater at 11:30 in the morning while I have no job?
Why not? That's the one that's the cheapest, right?
I guess, bro.
Anyways,
yeah, me taking a shit.
Yeah. Anyways, before we actually cover the movie and talk about our thoughts, we just want to give a brief moment of silence to a legend who passed away last night.
Iron Sheik, Sheiky baby.
Iron Sheik, as of this
81.
recording, which is a lot older than most wrestlers.
From
his generation. I think Jake the Snake is still around, and he's probably nearing
Sergeant
that age
Slaughter was praising him.
Yeah, this is like was his greatest enemy. Yeah. Sergeant Slaughter. He had the Cobra Clutch while he had the Camel Clutch. But
bro,
goddamn the Iron Sheik. We might have to maybe for my pick next week. I might have to do the documentary about him, the Sheik or whatever.
You can choose that. You can choose the documentary.
That's a movie. It's a feature length. What I don't see what look, man. A movie doesn't have to be completely like a narrative fictional thing. It can be a documentary. It's a movie. You saw it in the theater, didn't you?
Okay. What movie did you see this week?
Targets. I watched Targets.
You saw Targets this week?
I rewatched it for the first time because again I had the DVD sitting and it's just like I'd seen the old DVD that I rented from like art school years ago when I was I guess a decade and a half
What was the
ago.
movie you rented?
It was Targets. From our school library, and I watched it. I loved it. I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. Rewatching it again now that it's got like a 4K restoration. My wife got me the DVD but not the Blu-ray, so I still have to double dip for the Blu-ray.
Do you have a 4K TV?
No, I don't, but like it up-reses it so it looks a little better, but I still want the Blu-ray. I rewatched that. What else did I watch? I know I watched something else. I discovered this new show on Tubi called Attack of the Killer Bees, which is actually like another show
Nicolas Cage.
Not the bees!
Not the bees, baby. Not the bees.
Okay, and it's a weird show because it is actually the movie. So this show was on NBC in 1995. It was hosted by Cassandra Peterson as Elvira, and it was essentially like it was written by one of the guys who worked on Mystery Science Theater.
Was she in character as Elvira?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
That was the thing because like she was in character, and what the whole shtick of the show was that she kidnapped actors who were on like shows like Saved by the Bell and stuff like that.
Okay, I like this premise.
These teenagers, essentially, these like actors who are playing like who were like kids or like whatever in like these like teen comedy shows, teen sitcoms, and then she like kidnapped them and like essentially tried to torture them by making them watch condensed colorized versions of old like 1950s and 60s B movies, like science fiction and horror movies.
That sounds like something she'd do.
I guess it was fun because like, but the thing is like, unlike Mystery Science Theater, where you had like where you had the movie running while you had the comedians or people commenting on it while it was happening, it would cut back and forth between the movie and the actors, which is really awkward and weird. But this is not the version that is on Tubi. The versions on Tubi are the condensed movies that are colorized without the commentary or anything. So instead, you're getting 22-minute, these shortened, abridged versions of these movies that have been cut down to fit within like a half-hour like time slot, and are colorized these like really bright colors. Again, back when like colorization was really ugly. But it all works because it's just like one of these movies already really boring to sit through. So getting like a 22-minute version that is like colored to look like a classic 1950s or 60s comic book. It's like, I hate to say it, you kind of improved these like really bad movies. You made them better by making them half an hour and making them in color. That's like the brightest comic booky ass color possible. Incredible. And there's like a really decent theme song at the beginning.
How long are these episodes?
22 minutes long.
That's good.
I watched the Killers from Outer Space and the Monster from Green Hell back to back. That was an hour, less than an hour. But yeah, so that was fun.
What's the show called again?
Attack of the Killer Bees.
Attack of the Killer Bees.
Like the letter B. So. Yeah. But yeah, that's been my
because
movie
the
watching.
B movies.
Yeah. Okay. That's been my movie watching week this week. So, all right, so I guess we're gonna move into talking about Made in U.S.A.
Made in U.S.A. Do you break? You already broke the ice on it.
Yes, I did. At the beginning, that was my little like summary / thing. So,
no. I'm gonna pick your brain. What is your favorite part about this movie?
Probably just the fact that like it's a movie, but it's like a movie that is about being a movie, you know, or it is like a movie that is essentially like the fakest movie.
What are your thoughts on it being a French film about being in Atlantic City, but everyone's French?
Atlantic Cité.
Is that New Jersey, Atlantic Cité?
It's funny because eventually a French filmmaker that was part of this group would go on to make movies in America, and one of the movies is called Atlantic City. It stars my God, I can't believe I'm blanking it because I really like this movie. Burt Lancaster, an older Burt Lancaster, and God damn it, what's fucking late the actress. One of the actresses from the Witches of Eastwick. I was gonna say Breastwick because I saw the porno version of it. But anyways, God damn it! She's also the one in Rocky Horror Picture Show. And anyways, I'm blanking on it. Susan Sarandon,
the girl from Thelma and Louise.
Yes, Susan Sarandon and Burt Lancaster are in this movie about about essentially the last days of the old Atlantic City, back when they were starting to tear down all the old buildings and all that. So it's about that, and it's about people who are on their last legs trying to make a better life for themselves and getting involved with crime again and all that. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it made me think, because it's funny that a Frenchman in the 1960s sets a movie in a fake version of Atlantic City called Atlantic Cité, and then later on one of his colleagues would make a movie called Atlantic City in Atlantic City years later in America with American actors. Okay, what do I think about it being an American movie, an American movie starring French people? That's the joke.
I got the punchline. It was hilarious.
Yes. Because did you?
Dude, I hated it. I hated it. I was just like, bro, why is everyone she talked to French? The detectives, the doctors.
It's a movie for French people about America,
made in U.S.A.
Yes, and also, all the actors, all the characters are named after actors, writers, and directors who are American.
There was a guy named Richard Nixon.
Yes,
as Richard a character.
Richard Nixon and his partner Robert McNamara.
Okay,
and they're like war criminals. They're essentially like violent characters.
It threw me off because they were saying, 1968, but it came out in 1966.
It's set. It's I think set
it's set in the future, right?
Sort of, yeah. It's meant to be it's a parody / homage. It's a loving homage, but also Godard is being cheeky, because that's what he does. He likes to just be he thinks he's being cheeky and funny by having all these elements that are playing with audience expectations, as well as how a movie should be made. So you have scenes that are set inside the storage warehouses on film sets. Like that one scene where it's all these cutouts of these famous actors, and they're kind of moving across.
Yeah.
It's a little cheeky, this is Hollywood, you know.
Yeah.
Also the scene where
Walt Disney.
Yeah.
The fucking sign in the background.
Yeah, it's a collage. It looks like a collage brought to life, you know. Paula Nelson is named after the main character played by Godard's wife, Anna Karina. Paula Nelson, she's named after Babyface Nelson, that is a movie directed by Don Siegel. Yes, the gangster. Don Siegel is the name of the young man played by Jean-Pierre Léaud. He's the guy that she kind of shoots, and then he goes, "Mama, Mama," and he takes forever to die.
Yeah. That was so dramatic,
his
dude.
His name is Donald Siegel. And
that was her partner?
No, that was that's not that was that actually that actor is one of the iconic actors of this movie wave, because he
died so early.
Yeah, that's the joke too. Jean-Pierre Léaud's in there, and it's just the kid that everybody's been watching grow up. All right, aside that actor Jean-Pierre Léaud.
Yeah.
He is most famous for being in a series of movies directed by Francois Truffaut, one of Godard's colleagues and one of his co-workers and co-writing partners back when they were writing for this French film magazine. They were writing for this they were writing film criticism. These guys were film critics before they became filmmakers, and they decided to
they announced them like that in the supplement section where
exactly.
They're talking.
Yeah.
He used to be a critic before a movie.
Exactly.
maker.
I'm glad you watched the supplements.
Yeah. I watched one. I know there was more, but I watched
the. I'm glad you watched one of them at least.
Yeah.
So Jean-Pierre Léaud, he's in Francois Truffaut's debut movie called Les 400 Coups, aka The 400 Blows, which is a French slang term for raising hell. Okay. And it's about a young man who has a pretty lousy home life and eventually gets sent off to a boys' school. But essentially, we see that's his first appearance as this character of Antoine Doinel. and then he shows up in another short film in in an anthology movie, and then he shows up again as that character in a later movie called Stolen Kisses, where we like see him getting out of like military school and trying to get a job, and then we see him later again as still a young man, but now in a long-term relationship. Oh no, I think he's married now in the movie Bed and Board in 1970, and then we see him again as a more mature man, but still kind of being a little
childlike,
in Love on the Run. So Francois Truffaut did the Boyhood thing before Richard Linklater, because he kept returning to he did the Before trilogy before Richard Linklater, and I'm sure Richard Linklater loves those movies, so which is why he probably did the same thing, because he kept on making a series of movies with the same actor, watching this actor from like a young adult to like from a young boy to a grown ass man.
You're lying.
No, yeah, you can see they're on like the Criterion used to have a little box set. It's out of print now, and I think the box set's like kind of expensive on eBay, but they're there, man. But anyways, having that actor who's iconic to this like film movement show up and like essentially talk about how he wants to like collect all this money so he can go to like South America and hire a bunch of mercenaries and start up like a fascist like dictatorship is hilarious. He's just like, he wants to make a fucking banana republic. Anyways,
why do you find this so amusing?
It's funny because it's so silly. Like it's literally like this movie is essentially like Godard is taking. It's funny because this movie has two main influences. I guess it's like an unauthorized adaptation of this movie by this book by Richard Parker called The Jugger.
Yeah.
But it's also ripping the incomprehensible, twisty plot lines of the book The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler, which is why this movie's so fucking like. And this guy is over here, and this guy's over here, and like it's just like you're just fucking lost the whole movie. And I think the movie doesn't make any bones about whether or not you should understand what the goddamn plot is. It's just Paula Nelson's boyfriend got murdered, and she's trying to figure out who did it, and it doesn't matter by the end, because in the end she just kind of kills everybody who's even remotely
Who's the taxi
connected.
driver that picked her up in the end then?
Just one of her like friends.
Oh, okay.
We're not really meant to like.
What was her line about? Like, this will be a fad, just like miniskirts and rock and roll.
Yeah. Marianne Faithfull does like a little bit where she sings. That
was the girl who sung.
Yeah,
the blonde one. I thought that was so cool, dude. I was like, I wish we could do that.
Jean-Luc Godard has like a thing where if there's like a person or like an actor or like a friend that he puts in a movie that has like a bit that they'd like to do, he lets them just do that bit. In the movie, one of his earlier movies, Vivre sa vie, My Life to Live, which also stars his wife, where she plays a prostitute who's just trying to just kind of like a very kind of cold, almost documentary style, like here's what her life is. Has a bit where she hooks up with one of her, like she hangs out with her pimp and one of his friends, and one of his friends decides to like, oh, you look kind of bummed out. Let me cheer you up. Let me do this fucking bit that I do where I blow up an invisible balloon. It has nothing to add to the plot or anything. It's a big lipped alligator moment.
Yeah.
But Godard puts it in there because I have a buddy who does this fucking bit. I'm gonna let him do the bit on screen.
Yeah.
Why not? You know, who cares?
He had fun with it.
And Marianne Faithfull, who I have her like album on vinyl and used to date, I think Mick Jagger. She does one of her like iconic songs. So she sings a couple bars, and it's maybe my favorite version of that song because it's just her and her voice, and it's so angelic and beautiful.
I thought it was nice how he put it in the middle and the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the characters, David Goodis, the guy that she kind of hooks up with a little bit towards the end before she kills him, is named after actual author David Goodis.
I heard she couldn't use some sort of French revolutionary because the French government thought it was too offensive. So every time they'd say his name,
so on the recording, which by the way, the shot of the like little record, a little like tape player,
yeah,
I stole that shot for how I wanted to show the typewriter in Tiger's Tail.
I saw you do the typewriter bit. I was just like, this son of a bitch.
Okay, how did you not watch this movie and not think like, wow, just like Tiger's Tail?
I'm not going to lie to you, dude. When you told me it was a major influence in Tiger's Tail,
what I meant to say is I ripped everything off.
Dude, you couldn't have been more subtle. You couldn't have been more ironic.
And the
dude.
thing is, like, okay, I didn't want to be because, like,
you even used the when she got hit in the head thing, the little freaking colorized cartoon thing. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude! Can you be more loud?
Because like again, it's funny because like you look at this and then you watch my movies and you're like, wow, he really did steal everything. But then if you watch this and look at all like the fact that like you have characters named Doris Mizuguchi, which is like the
Asian girl that plays the guitar.
Yeah, she's named after Kenji Mizuguchi, who is a Japanese filmmaker from around the time, from like the 40s and 50s, and then later on. That voice, the fact they cut it off. His name is Richard Pulitzer, which again is the like they have to censor it, but we all like I guess people in the know at the time. It's like, oh wow, he's named after that one like French like political activist.
Mm-hmm.
Inspector Aldrich is named after Robert Aldrich, another kind of very manly, tough like genre filmmaker from America. Donald Siegel. Paul Widmark is named after Richard Widmark, who is an actor in a lot of these movies that he's kind of calling attention to.
Who's the guy that David killed at the end? The one that looks like Mark Ruffalo?
That's Paul Widmark, and he's played by Laszlo Sabo, who shows up on a lot of Godard's movies. This guy.
That guy.
Also, the scene where like they're just like standing in front of that like ripped up wall, and they're just kind of like going back and forth, and kind of like it looks like they're looking at the script and looking back.
Yeah.
That again, it's all about the fucking artifice. It's just like
What does that mean? What does artifice mean?
Artifice
Explain
means
it.
Like artificial.
Okay.
It means it's like not. It means it's like not real. It's not meant to be real. You know. And it's just Godard being cheeky and being like, it's like that one painting of a pipe that says this is not a pipe because it's a painting of a pipe. That's this movie.
What was the original in the same aspect ratio that it was in the DVD?
The Criterion does its best to preserve the aspect ratio.
What do you think about 20 by 39?
The fact that it's like widescreen.
It looked nice.
Yeah, because that's what Godard likes, big fucking widescreen stuff, because he wants to fill the screen with as much tomfoolery as possible. He wants to make sure you can see like everything, you know. Also that little bit at the beginning where it's like dedicated to Nick Ray and Sam Fuller,
who inspired him the appreciate
those two boys.
Sound.
As soon as I saw them, like, I have to eat their films, and I did eat their films. I'm like, fuck, I love these guys. Because Nicholas Ray did Rebel Without a Cause. He directed Rebel Without a Cause. And Sam Fuller is like a madman, and I love him because he's a dude who has had like the most colorful life possible. Sam Fuller, an American filmmaker, started off as a screenwriter. Before that, he was a World War II vet and like a combat photographer. Before that, he was a journalist writing like essentially the equivalent of like tabloid shit. And before that, as a child, he started life working at a printing press, rearranging the little letters on a printing press. Yeah. So he's been a journalist and working in print his whole life, to the point where this man, what is considered his masterpiece, his most personal film, Park Row, is about the early newspaper industry.
Yeah.
And that's like his like personal like love letter to the thing that made him into the man he is today. And he also shows up and like will act in movies. But fucking I love Sam Fuller. He's like, he makes these really like tough guy like kind of like kind of movies, you know, like
did those two gentlemen inspire the film, or he just like took their lessons?
He took their lessons.
Did he take like style from them?
Not at all. I mean, I think he used to take a lot of things, but at this point, like post 1965, which I like to call the post Pierrot Le Fou era, he is now making movies that are about like that calls attention to itself being a movie, which is what I did with Tiger's Tail.
I like that this movie came out in 1966 because my Thunderbird is a 1966.
Okay, what else?
So I just loved that, dude. I just loved that. I was just like, oh shit, it's like time traveling. It's like if you would have been made in USA in 1966, you could have had a brand car just came out that year. And my car's, yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was dope. The time traveling, it created so much like creative steroid, dude. Because it's just like I was thinking about like how you want to get shot in a shoot we're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
What if I cut your head off? Think about it. We use meat. We stuff red bags of balloons. We slide it, and it made it look like. I was thinking about this, bro.
No, I want you to finish because I have a filmmaker we should definitely look at for that.
So we use a whole bunch of meat and we make it look like we cut your throat, and like it shows like a far off silhouette distance where it shows me like pulling your head off, right?
Right.
And then it shows like a shot of my boots, you behind me, but we dig a hole, so we cover your head in the ground, but your shoulders are up, and we just put like meat on the back of your neck, so it looks like I actually cut your head off, and we put like a Cubone or whatever in the middle.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Like when I was watching this movie, I was it makes me want to like do it like, what is it, in camera, not like post or whatever, like cinema, not like CGI or whatever, like practical.
Yeah, practical.
Yeah. So I was just like, fuck, it'd be so cool if
there's that shot where she's like pulling off like the bandages off of a fucking skeleton with like a fake eyeballs put in.
How you said it's so cartoonish, bro. The color red for blood.
Yeah,
it's just
paint.
like lipstick red, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck is it? It doesn't look like blood.
It's not meant to be.
Blood we're used to.
It looks like a cartoon. It's a Technicolor because it's also shot in Technicolor,
which is a big deal at these times, right?
Yeah, because it was the color process
until 1970s. They were like it was a normal thing, but then it was just like the in between, the limbo area,
and it was like color. So it's brightly, so the colors are more bright and everything, and that's a big deal to Godard. He wants to shoot, if he's gonna shoot in color, he's gonna fucking shoot in color, dog.
That was colorful.
He wants to like use like in his other films, he uses like big blocks of color too. Like he'll have like
older or newer after this one.
Before. Okay. Like in the movie Contempt, which by the way, a big thing too is that this man likes to make sure like he incorporates red, white, and blue all the time because they're the colors of the French flag.
What a patriot! What a patriot!
Well, I mean, I don't know. He's very critical of like French culture. I mean, this dude is like, this spends like, again, a lot of dialogue is like him talking, like have characters talking about like these philosophical ideals, which is again something I copied for Tiger's Tail. Again, it's a movie that doesn't try to be a movie. It was definitely a movie that was meant to like appeal to the like intellectual like coffee shop crowds in France, which like was the main thing that the French knew it was doing. Like, you did have other filmmakers who were making traditional, normal narrative like French movies, but then you had these French New Wave guys who were like inventing all these new, or like popularizing these new techniques. You had these like radical like filmmakers, especially Godard, who was like putting all of his like politics in his movies. But I think by the mid to late 60s, most of these guys were like kind of moving on to making more narratively normal films. I think for sure one of their colleagues, Eric Romer, was definitely making the kind of walking and talking kind of like drama and comedy movies, you know, like romantic movies, like the kind of movies that like Woody Allen would probably gravitate towards more at like in like this like late 70s, early like.
What was that Annie movie he made?
Annie Hall. That's
Annie Hall.
That's
actually good. I haven't seen it.
That's my wife and I's favorite movie, actually.
Can I ask why?
Because it's a great movie and it's like
it's worth watching.
It fucking is worth watching, dude. He's like playing with so many different styles and stuff like that. It's like super meta and all that. So
you brought up Susan Sarandon earlier.
Yes.
She was in Thelma and Louise. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's great. You know what car they're driving?
What?
A 1966
it all ties
Ford
together.
Thunderbird. Is that a call to Godard? Your guy?
It's a really rad bird. It's a really rad car.
Okay. Theirs is a convertible though. Mine's a hard top.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I just have to bring up my car, dude.
I know, it's fine.
I love my car, man.
Oh yeah, okay, I understand that. But anyways, so look, you know why I like this movie. Look, put yourself in my shoes. I'm in my early 20s. I'm going to art school. The whole idea of making traditional films is out the fucking window for me. You know, like at this point, I'm trying to like compete and make sure. Like, I'm trying to compete with my artistic cohorts, my classmates. So obviously, I'm gravitating more towards like these more experimental ways. Like I'm trying to make a movie that is a movie, which is what leads to Tiger's Tail. But then also, I kind of drop that a little bit when I make Black Horizon. But then I kind of also come back to it when I make movies or shorts like B for body, C for canal. You know.
Are you gonna link the Tiger's Tail?
I did
recently, but you haven't announced it verbally, have you?
Oh, okay. In episode 2, there is a link in our Podbean thing that shows you where you can watch both versions. Because the black and white version, and then also the one on Internet
You really
Archive.
just got to plug that in anytime you can.
And also, I will be releasing a version of our episode 2 commentary that is synced up to the movie. That's all done. So I'm a little off. This should be more for the end of the episode. But anyways, I want to pick your brain because I just threw like the biggest.
Yeah, you really went off on me, dude. You didn't have to.
How do you like? What did you think of this movie aside from like seeing what I stole from this?
It was a different pace to like keep up with. You have to again. It's like time traveling, dude. You go back into
Did you
like.
watch it with subtitles this time?
I had subtitles on
Good,
this one.
because
I wish I didn't watch it though with subtitles because I just clicked play and it automatically put it on.
Automatic.
And I was just like, "Fuck!" I wish I would have just like listened to these people jibber jabber in front
French?
of. Yeah, and just like. Because there was like 2 lines that were in English.
Yeah.
They like quoted somebody and it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I understood that.
Yeah.
But it's like the subtitles, it's like, it was so hard to just like really focus on the movie. It was just so much
going on.
It was so much, dude. Because it's like, I'm trying to read and it's like, look at the image and it's just like, fuck, it's like labor intensive. You know?
Yeah.
It's just, it was difficult to get through. At the end, when, David was like, she's like shooing him away from the bush, and she's like, go around. And then he's in the house, and then he like gets behind him, and then he shoots him. And I'm like, this sounds just like, what do you call it? Like some House of Cards shit.
Yeah.
It's like, said that you killed this man, only if you do it. And it's like, I took your pistol. You're mine, blah, blah. And then David comes behind him and just.
And then she shoots him.
Yeah. So I'm just like, Jesus Christ, they're all just hoodwinking each other.
She's like, yeah. I mean, by the end of it, just like, it's just all these like, not even any real reasons to like kill each other at that point. But I mean, minus
they had a tape that they kept playing. They said it was the voice of
that was the
director.
voice of her boyfriend, Richard Pulitzer. So which is the voice of Jean-Luc Godard, the director. So that's the voice of the director.
He was actually reading quotes from the real guy.
It's either he's either reading. I think he's either reading quotes or he's actually just reading off shit that he wrote himself. So. Either way, it's kind of hard to distinguish because Godard pretty much is like in this political sphere. His films get progressively more political to the point where, again, like I said, in the 70s, he joins up with the Ziga Vertov group and starts making explicitly like Marxist and Maoist films. Actually, 1967, he makes or 60 around the same time he makes another movie called Les Chinois, which is translated in English to The Chinese. And it is about a bunch of these fucking kids, these students, who are super Mao-pilled. They're like super commie-pilled to the point where there's a scene where they're like, they make a barrier out of like the little red books, the little Maoist red books.
They made a what?
A little like wall to defend themselves with their guns out of like their like. Again, this is how like political commentary level that Jean-Luc Godard is. It's like to the point where it's just completely.
It's General
silly.
Mao, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's what the Chinese believe in. Their
Is
version
his
of
body still like up for display?
I don't know.
They have a display of a dead man in a glass case.
Oh, you're thinking of Lenin.
That's him?
Yeah, Vladimir Lenin.
They did it with the Asian guy
They did
too.
it. They did it with Mao.
I think they Mao'd him, dude.
They Mao'd him.
If you look, you could still go to General Mao's like freaking glass case.
Keep talking. I'm gonna look this up, but keep talking what you thought about the movie.
I thought it was dope, dude. I was saying that, like I said, it was just so colorful. It's one of those things that you just like, I don't want to say turn your brain off to, but just like.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I think you could because it's like it's meant to be incomprehensible, and then all the dialogue is just like commie in-party fighting, which is the commentary itself.
This was my first time watching it, right? So it's the way how when you go to a place for the first time, it's like really, really long. But on the way back home from that drive, from that new place, it's like, oh, that's a memorable area, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if I would see it again, I'd probably get it a little more because it's like, oh, I have insight on it, right? But it's like, when I was watching, I was just like, I have no idea. I was so confused at the end because even the main character, like, she has a very... She's memorable, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, she changed outfits. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. I'm like, I have to do work. Like, I don't know their languages or their like. I don't know if this is a hick accent in France. It's like I'm just like juggling. When they killed I thought it was cool how when the guy was like running into the car inside that one warehouse thing, he had his coat stuck to the end of the taillight of a car.
Yeah.
I was just like, he kept that in there.
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, fuck it, we're going on to the next.
He does that.
I love that.
He like, all right, let's shoot, let's move on. Look, this movie is a movie, so let's like, I'm not.
He was like, first take, let's go, come on. I thought, well, at least for that part, I thought it was dope, man. I enjoyed it. Like on my own, I wouldn't have sat down and watched it, but because you recommended it, I was just like, oh, okay.
That's part. You know, that is part of what the whole mission statement of the show. We're showing each other movies that either we've never seen before, or ones that we have seen before, but then the other one hasn't. You know, we're like sharing movies with each other.
This is very one-sided. You've seen everything, fucker.
I know it's literally my curse and my
it's your cross to bear.
It's my cross to bear. I don't think his body's still on display.
Who is the?
His body was on display for a while though, even though I guess Chairman Mao asked to be cremated, but the Chinese thought he was too important.
Chinese General
Mao
in glass.
I've seen the pictures. You can Google images.
Is that Lenin?
No, that's Chairman Mao.
Dead man in dead man in glass case. In China, see, it comes up.
There's also Vladimir Lenin. I mean, I don't know if his body's still on display. I mean, I think he'd smell by now. I think Lenin's body is still on display. This is a conversation that would be happening in one of Godard's movies in the 60s. Honestly, at this point. We're turning into one of his things. But yeah, man, I mean, like, this, like I said, this is a very, like, foundational, like, movie for me. Like, this is, like, the movie that, I stole everything from. I think this one and Parola Foo are the ones that, I definitely took the most from. And it's just, like I said, I really... Like being in my 20s and essentially
in Tiananmen Square.
All right, cool. Maybe it's a wax figure though.
It can't be.
Whatever. I mean, regardless. Yeah, I stole everything.
Probably.
I stole everything from
I
this
haven't
movie.
been there. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Part of the reason I like gravitated to this guy's films, which I mean I still appreciate now, but I've gravitated more towards his other colleagues' work more, is because like I'm in my 20s. I know how movies look like and work. There are, like, obviously auteurs who put in their own stamp and shots. But, like, imagine you're rediscovering the French New Wave. And all of a sudden, or you're discovering the French New Wave for the first time properly. And now, like, you're seeing this guy, this filmmaker who's just, like, a movie can call attention to itself as a movie. You can break the fourth wall. You can, like... emphasize the artifice. You can have it be that the whole thing could be that it's fake. And I think one of the good like filmmakers who kind of has continued that kind of aesthetic or that kind of like style is Wes Anderson. Like his movies look like no others. They look like dollhouses. And I love that. I fucking love Wes Anderson. I don't care who you are. I don't care.
There was a shot or two where I was like, that looks like something Wes would do.
Because he's one of the guys who, like, I think his early films, especially, like, Rushmore, definitely, like, cops a lot of, like, the classic French New Wave. And I think the filmmaker he's evolved into, I mean, he's developed his own stuff, but he still kind of has things that he's, like, taken from these movies. But, like I see it first, I was like, wow, a movie doesn't have to be, like, so clean and slick. It can be, like... just two people standing on the on a wide screen, standing on standing on two sides of the screen, just kind of like talking over each other, and or even like reading off of a script in front of them and like looking up at the camera directly and addressing the audience. You know, it can be about the fact that it's like this is a movie, it isn't real.
What kind of lens do you think he used on that film?
I don't know actually. Because mostly the behind the scenes stuff is often not usually recorded. I mean, there's like pictures of him using like actually one of the things that inspired me to use a wheelchair for Tiger Style is there's a picture of him and his cinematographer, the guy that he worked with the most, Raoul Coutard, and they're on the set of Un Femme et une Femme, aka A Woman is a Woman.
Damn right.
And Raoul Coutard's got like his like 35mm camera, right? He's like shooting, and then like he's sitting in a wheelchair while Godard pushes him, you know? Or like they would like steal shots of like on the street in public by putting like the camera in like a friggin' baby carrier, you know, or like a baby stroller. Actually, let me see if I can find one. But yeah, like these movies are like his movies, like from this period, is just like, man, like you can just like have a movie be like not even like, you can just have like the movie challenge the audience, and it's just like, that's what I want to do. That's the kind of movies I want to make. Like this guy, I think I've gotten far away from that, but like for a brief few like pictures, I definitely was doing. I had that spirit. I think I still have that spirit, even though I think the people who've seen my movies are angry that it's not like your slick, like trying to make like a slick indie movies. Like, why are you making a movie like these movies that are like what these French filmmakers were doing? Why are you trying to like be all high-minded and pretentious about it? Just like, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly something that our coworker Michael would not appreciate.
You don't think he'd sit through Made in
Fuck
USA?
no! Hell no! Hell no!
All the questions in life get answered because of this movie.
Hell no!
Why not? Why can't you see Michael sitting through there and watching it?
I have to ask him if he sat through my movie first.
If you want that times 10, watch this.
Yeah. God, what are some other thoughts you have? I know you talked about the color. You talked about how it's cartoonish, how it's purposely cartoonish. I like how he like pretty much shoots everything in like primary colors.
I brought up the lens thing because I've been looking at lenses and stuff, and there's like a cheap anamorphic lens for like $50-$60. You just clip it onto your phone case or whatever.
Yeah, of course. But
they were saying how an anamorphic lens, despite a regular lens with a 2x39 or whatever, ratio, it's like it's different when it grabs light.
Right.
So I was just like, oh shit, I could just probably shoot something on the 2x39. But it's like if I hit a glare, it's like it'd be a good cinematic spot. Like how we were talking last week about Con Air.
Yeah.
That one scene with the chains and everything. Yeah. It's like just slow-mo that.
Yeah.
You know, 120 frames a second or something.
Okay, J.J. Abrams.
I was just like, fuck, because they were just, I looked up a couple other videos and they're just like, because it's on that ratio, and they're like, you put this on anything and it looks like a film, like a movie. Yeah. And I was just like, crap, dude, that's probably because sometimes you record something and you're like, why doesn't it look like a movie? And it's like, it's the little thing like that. I think
it's also like the sensor and like the level of like it's the sensor for a lot of digital cameras. Like for example, our phones have gotten so good that you could make stuff look like a movie.
You were saying that how some people have made movies off their cell phone.
Yeah, but most people now use one of these bad boys to try to make a movie. So I'm surprised you don't try to use a DSLR camera more. Like this should be your greatest tool, Jonathan. Why are you trying to trick out your phone to like not to do what this does already?
I don't know, man. Because I already have one of those, but it doesn't have a. You could take the lens off that, right?
Yeah, of course.
I can't take on. Mine's one of those.
Okay.
So I have that, a GoPro, another.
I'd have to recharge the battery on this. I forgot it.
Another Android camera.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, if we do a talking sim, we could probably use both our cameras to like get instant.
You know, it might look different. We'll really have to do a lot of like correction to make it look similar, because like the capture card on this and or not the capture card.
Are you talking about coloring?
The coloring, but also just the quality too. Like, I mean, it'll look like shooting with different video, like video cameras or shooting on different, like it's a little different actually.
Yeah.
So, it might look different. We can try and see what that would look like, but. There might be a difference. Because
I'd hate to, like I said, the pacing issue. It's like, oh, you respond like this to this, but it's like if you were actually having a conversation back and forth, it's like, you know what I mean?
Hold on, let me tell you how they. Hold on, I'm away from the microphone. Let me tell you how they shoot those talking scenes, Jonathan.
Please, educate
me. This is a thing that me and filmmaker Brian De Palma share in our dislike of what we call cover it, or what is known as coverage. Coverage is essentially shooting the scene multiple times to make sure you get it from different angles. So in the editing room, you can add more variety and make sure you cover the scene properly. This is normal for dialogue scenes. This is how you would do it. You would shoot a dialogue scene. with the camera focused on one person, and then the two actors would act the scene out. And if they're good actors, they're able to keep the same consistent tone and take.
Uh-huh.
Then you would shoot that other actor's scene from their perspective. So like you would then shoot the same scene and have the camera focus on the other actor to get that close up or like that medium close up. Then you would maybe shoot that same scene from like a medium shot or a wide shot. And then that's why actors have to be good at remembering lines. It's coverage. Brian De Palma hates that because it's just like, no, why can't I just shoot like a scene like from a specific angle and like make it cool looking, you know? That's why in like Blowout, there's a scene where like when John Travolta is looking for like the specific tape that he feels got stolen or that did get stolen in that part of the movie. It's like him rushing through his little storeroom, through his like studio editing room, looking for that tape, scrambling to find it. But instead of just like going cut, De Palma puts the camera in the middle of the room and rotates it around, not exactly following Travolta as he goes through it, but just like rotating to cover everything in that shot. And while Travolta is doing his own thing, running through naturally as he would look for it, but it's like spinning around the room, also kind of showing the kind of tension and madness of like losing that.
Yeah, that's a good effect at that.
Oh, moment. It's a great effect. Yeah. But
it complements the story.
Yeah. But like I said, coverage would normally just like you would just like shoot the scene pretty much 3 or 4 times, and hoping the guide your actors are good enough to like shoot the scene multiple times, or you could even have like an actor. Or even like the script supervisor read off the dialogue at the actor and have them like act out that scene the way they would.
On the extras and shit, like I said, I watched a 30-minute extra on it.
Yeah.
They were talking about how there would be moments where they would get the female actress and they would just put a headset in one of their ears or whatever, and they'd be like, "Say this." That scene
specifically actually is the scene where they're like talking at each other, like there's the two scene where Anna Karina and Laszlo Sabo would be
which one
the one where they're like looking at each other and like it almost looks like he's like looking down and reading off of stuff, and they're like kind of talking over each other. That's that scene. When they're looking at each other, not the camera, or when they're looking at the camera. When they're looking at the camera specifically, and they're standing side by side. That's one example of the scene. There's a lot of that.
So what's wrong with doing that?
There's nothing wrong with doing.
Let's say I put a Bluetooth thing, call you on the phone, and you just read me the lines, and I'll say what you want me to say. If you have, because that big spiel you had in the beginning with your cousin and your brother.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember that, dude. That is because they had a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Long take.
Yeah. That's
talent.
Yeah, it's talent, but of course my cousin is like.
Was it ad-libbed? It was like
no, that they pretty much did like remember their lines.
Fucker, see that's impressive.
Yeah, this is also why like when I write stuff down, it's never concrete anymore. After Tiger's Tail, I pretty much decided like, look, I'll write stuff down. I want this, but if an actor forgets a line or something, and they're able to keep the tone and like keep going, and they're good at ad-libbing, fuck, I'll keep that in. If they ad-lib a line, but it's in the spirit of what I'm trying to say and it's in their character, fuck yeah. That's who cares if it's like this whole page in the script, this whole line out the window if it doesn't work. Me personally, I've evolved into a butcher when it comes to my editing and like when it comes to like editing and like revision.
You need to learn how to season and cook, Daddy. You can't just kill.
I used to fucking like cradle everything and make sure it was like perfect. Now just like if this scene don't work, fucking editing like cutting room floor. I do not care.
Okay.
It's kind of like this podcast. If like a whole conversation feels like it's completely off topic, in the garbage.
Remorseless, dude.
It's something that I think I've picked up from like Steven Soderbergh's writings about being his own editor and how like he took Heaven's Gate and chopped it down
The
to
suicide thing?
No, the movie, the western that essentially ended director-driven movies for the that essentially ended the 70s era of like director-driven movies, and led to the blockbuster crowd-pleasing era of the 80s. He took that 3-hour movie and cut it down, 3-hour plus movie, and cut it down to 90 minutes. And like he said, he calls it the butcher's cut. And it still works, surprisingly, but a lot of memorable scenes are gone. But it's him trying to keep the spirit of the movie while crunching it together. So he calls it the butcher's cut. And it's just he talks about how it's just if something doesn't work, it doesn't have to stay in. I'm not teaching you to not be precious with certain things in a movie. It's not just I worked so hard to get this shot in, it's so I worked forever, but it actually when I put it next to this one scene, it doesn't work. Out the door.
You heard of the kill your darlings thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
I am a strong believer of that.
Don't even take it out back. Shoot it right there in the living room.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
Like the scene in Jackie Brown where Bridget Fonda's bugging is taunting Robert De Niro as they walk back to the car in the mall, and without even thinking twice, he just shoots her and gets into the car.
Okay, you ruined that for me.
You said you watched that movie, you fucker. No, you. I asked
Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown
with what's that comedian who's hella funny but not funny anymore?
Chris Tucker.
That one.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it once or twice.
You said you saw it. You said I didn't grab me the same way fucking Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs got me for the other Tarantinos.
I wouldn't put Jackie Brown as a movie that I'd put Quentin in.
That's his movie though.
I know, but I wouldn't be oh yeah, remember that memorable film that he did, Hateful Eight, and Jackie Brown?
Jackie Brown is super fucking. That's him as a mature filmmaker practically.
I don't like maturity in him then. Okay, Pam Grier, what the fuck?
Fucking love her.
What is she about?
She's great. She's great in all those classic blaxploitation movies, and I'm glad that she got a chance along with Robert Forster to flex their acting muscles in a more mature, serious movie.
But you don't like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I don't.
You piece of
See, this is where we differ. We're gonna have to rewatch. That's another movie going to our list.
I can't sit through Jackie Brown, bruh.
Why?
Is that the one where Samuel Jackson looks like some funny-looking motherfucker?
Yeah, because that's how he's written in the fucking book. That's also an adaptation.
That's a book I don't want to read then.
Fucking Rum Punch rules.
Well, you could read it one more time for me, because I ain't.
Leonard Elmore is a fantastic crime writer, you troglodyte. You fucking Philistine.
You don't call me no
you fucking uncultured Philistine. I hope Sam...
You want me to sit there and enjoy this film? I won't. I will not.
You fucking watched the French movie that was all political garble and fucking cartoon.
But I won't sit through Jackie Brown.
You're gonna sit through Jackie Brown.
No, if you choose that as a film, I will veto it, dude.
How? It's not any. It's way better than The Hateful Eight.
Let's watch both.
We're not doing. Okay, well,
let's do a Tarantino month and we watch the movies we hate about him the most.
What month is Tarantino's birthday?
I think it's April. It already passed.
Fuck.
Yeah, he's a Aries.
We'll do a Tarantino month.
We'll do a Tarantino.
We'll do a Tarantino
and we'll
month.
pick the worst movies until we get to our top 10 favorites, okay?
How dare you? Fucking
He's Jackie only got
Brown,
9.
Jackie Brown is in my top 10, is in my top favorite of his movies, though.
I'll pick Jackie Brown and be like, this is a movie I despise and I want us to...
And I'll pick Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
There you go. And then we'll slowly go up our favorites.
And then I'll probably pick Inglourious Bastards, and I don't know what you'll pick after that.
Hateful Eight? You choose...
No, I chose... Okay, I guess Hateful Eight was next.
Kill Bill.
I like those movies.
Mid.
Fair.
They're all right.
Fair. That's a fair. I mean, I think they were super cool when they came out. I haven't watched them since, but I think they probably would be mid now.
They're all right.
Death Proof.
They're all right.
Death Proof. The one that he made for Grindhouse. Have you seen? Okay,
it was in Austin, Texas. So I'm
it's
pro.
A car movie.
I'm pro proof.
It's a car movie as well.
The bitch on the hood of that car. Jesus fucking Christ,
Zoe
bro.
Bell.
What?
Zoe Bell.
That poor girl, bro. That's what I need, man. I don't want to see. what that Samuel L. Jackson looking like a fucking goober, dude?
I don't want to see this
dude.
That's
Dude.
how he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be.
He kills Chris Tucker in the trunk, right?
One of my favorite fucking scenes. He's just like, "Oh yeah, get in the truck. We're gonna do this thing." And then like they drive around. You see that beautiful crane shot. You see him like drive around the block, come back, open the thing, bop, bop, bop. That's hilarious. That's great. It's like, wow, this guy's cold and evil, but he looks like a goober. That's so great. We're gonna have to rewatch.
Don't make me sit through that, dude.
We're good. You're missing a good chunk of the movie about like the fact that it's just like, okay, Pam Grider's on her last legs. Like she's like an air flight stewardess. Why are we talking about this movie as if we just watched it? Look, we're gonna have to save this convo for when we actually watch the movie.
You're gonna back, cutting room floor. Cut all this out.
Yeah, I will cut this out.
Cut all this out.
I'm cutting this out. All right. So, any more thoughts on Made in USA? Would you consider watching more of this director's films now?
I saw a YouTube video of this guy talking about Mr. Godard.
Godard, yeah.
Mr. Godard, and he was saying how you need to watch at least 3 to 4, 5 films of his to really get what this man is. Because he's like, if you start off with Made in USA, it's going to be like, what did I get myself into?
It's super jarring because it is like he evolves so much as a filmmaker. Especially with his like priorities, he gets more and more political by the time he gets to like the mid 60s. So I agree, but I think the three films that are like absolutely necessary to watch, and I hate that my favorite one of his isn't on here, but because I feel it's like a good like this is what it all leads up to. And also definitely what I stole more from as well. But I think the 3 ones that you have to watch are like Breathless, Band of Outsiders, Contempt. Or Breathless, Contempt, Band of Outsiders.
I didn't see the...
And the dude is like a fucking hit machine when he comes out. Because he's just like... He's making 1 or 2 movies a year. He's like non-stop, dude. Like... No wonder he kind of slows down a little bit by like the end of the 60s, you know?
I remember what I forgot.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up Marlon
Wayans?
Brando?
Brando? Okay.
Yeah. So the whole thing with the headset in the ear thing, I guess Marlon Brando was doing that on the set of Don Juan.
Yeah, because he fucking doesn't read he doesn't read scripts
at that point.
Yeah. He fucking doesn't read scripts.
The nuts on that man.
Because he's good.
The nuts on that man. They were saying...
And like, on like the Waterfront, I'm pretty sure he wasn't reading scripts then.
Bro, this is... fuck, dude. It made me like... crap, dude. Like, I went down a whole, like, let me investigate these type of people thing. And...
Marilyn Monroe's the same way, too.
I took 2 things from Mr. Brando, right? And there's some other things, but they were saying 2 things he did. He did the whole... earpiece thing, and I have long hair, so I'm like,
yeah, you can do it.
This benefits me, right? And then he just did the whole
what's that hand? Jonathan made a hand motion that looks like it's his hand. He put his hand flat to his chest. He then put it down to his diaphragm and then up again.
Do you know what that means? How far is the camera gonna see me?
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, that is such like an...
So he's got the script below the thing. You can kind of see when he's reading the script.
Well, you can say that, but the way I took it was like, okay, my hand gesture, is it going to be in the film, or is it just going to be just my face telling the story?
Interesting. Okay.
So I was just like, that is like, as an actor, I was just like, that is hella cool to just be like, you show up on set and you're like, oh shit, my knees? Okay.
That's also kind of how I shot and told my actors to act in Tiger's Tail. Like
this is what's going to be shown.
Yeah. That's also why you have...
I think that's good communication.
That's also why you have that scene where the main character in Tiger's Tail has that whole silent scene where it's like he's talking to the guy waiting for him near his apartment, and you just see close-ups of like hands like moving and gesturing to communicate that they're talking. Or also when like Vert and Madeline are talking to each other, or like are listening to Agar, like my character, like talking. He's like walking back and forth and gesturing, but you like only see me from like the neck down, and then you see them reacting and looking and acting like they're listening to me, communicating like something that a deaf person could probably understand. communication. It is like literally like miming the idea of communicating, you know?
I hear you. What was your least favorite part about this film? What do you get through and you're just like, ugh, why?
I think my least favorite part of it was like all the references to like the political philosophies, because it's just
the
like,
overkill.
It is his personality and style. It is Godard's fuck style at this point. So it is just like, I get it. I get what the point of it, but also just like, I just tune my brain out, because it's just like none of this stuff is really important to me. I don't get it. I'm not gonna after this rush out and like take a political theory class, even though I did.
What do you call it? There was a snippet on the extras, the supplements. They were saying how a lot of the people he was around, they were very like, they came from nothing and they were okay to go back to nothing. But Godard, he came from like,
he was privileged. Yeah,
he lived a good life, right?
He's from Switzerland.
He wasn't gonna give up what he was like born into, right?
Yeah.
So I really thought that was cool how he held his ground on that, because they were saying, I forgot how the way they put it, but I don't know if you could elaborate on it. But they're just like, there was other artists around him that were like, no, we're gonna plummet and this is gonna be the apocalypse of our career type shit. But he was just like just coasting on,
which I think is funny,
on a cloud of his,
which is funny because he's like trying to like push these like Marxist ideals and like in his films, like these like ideas that he believes in, but also it's just like he's at this point also criticizing the like political infighting that he doesn't believe in anymore. But it's also, it just comes from the fact that just like, this is a dude who came from money, from Swiss money, and then like getting involved of like these like commies, and then deciding that like, oh, I actually like being privileged more than like being a commie, but also I want to take their ideas and like criticize the hell out of stuff that I don't like. So
there's an artist, a band, I forgot their name, but they have one song. It's called Plague Vendor.
Okay.
He's a plague vendor.
Yeah.
Communism, the fall of the strong socialist societies of our life, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, at the end of the day, he's just selling you this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's.
But he goes home in his nice Mercedes.
Exactly. Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or someone drives him in his nice.
Which is funny because like his colleagues, especially like the other director that was like huge at the same time, essentially his rival, which they kind of became rivals towards the end. They kind of their differences and their upbringing and their like filmmaking ideas like split off so much. Like Francois Truffaut, like the movie, like his first movie, The 400 Blows, with that actor that's in this movie, that is like biographical. Like Truffaut came from nothing, essentially. He's like, he was working class, he was lower class, so he didn't buy into these like political ideas. He was trying to make movies about people who were trying to like he was a more romantic filmmaker. He was more about like the romance,
the
and,
intimacy
like,
of a character.
The intimacy of a character. He wanted to make, especially like a movie like Jules and Jim, that is about like these two guys in like early 19th century France, or like late 19th century France, early 20th century, about like these kind of like, he's more romantic. He's more about like these working class people, but also about like these people who are trying to like rise up. He's more about like these ideas of like people who have to deal with like essentially like the horrible emotions of like being in love and like having to deal with like jealousy and all that, you know. Like he's dealing with like these kind of like
the tragedy of romance,
but also these kind of people who are aspirational and also dealing with these people who
like ambitious people or something.
Ambitious people, but he's also trying to inject a more literary style and like tone into his movies. His movies often feel like the kind of movies you read, or the kind of books you read rather, from like these like authors from like the Victorian era and stuff, you know. It's really interesting how like it is like like he's trying to like, whereas like Godard is trying to He's like trying to make movies about being a movie and like injecting his like politics, but then Truffaut is like gravitating more towards taking the techniques of films that he likes, but gravitating more towards a more bookish tone, you know, in like a film. So, and they just diverge from that because, like I said, Godard becomes this like political filmmaker, and then Truffaut becomes this like filmmaker who is trying to like kind of adapt these like literary like novels and keep their tone and make these kind of movies about like the life of the inner life and outer life of these characters. And then Godard just like, these characters are mouthpieces for my politics and ideas and philosophies. They're not characters. They're just people that I can kind of talk through and make big statements about movies. And then you have their other cohorts like Eric Romer, who's like, I'm going to make movies about like people and their relationships, but I'm also going to work in cycles. So like I'm gonna make movies in like series of like about themes, you know, like I'll make movies about that are set in like seasons. I'll make movies that are set in like that are about like moral tales. You know, he works in cycles and it's cool. And you have Claude Chabrol, who's just like, I don't care what kind of movies I make. I'll be borrowing some of the techniques of my like brothers over here, but I'll be making movies that like French people can actually enjoy.
Like action flicks or like...
Yeah, he's like, Chabrol is making these kind of action and mystery movies to the point where people start calling him like the new French Hitchcock.
Oh, Jesus.
And which is funny because they already had a French Hitchcock, and that was Henri Clouzot. So, it's funny that he does that. So, it's interesting to see what, like I said, like it's you have to really kind of take in Godard's films from the beginning. You have to watch Breathless and just kind of work your way up to the end of the 60s.
As the guy told you.
There are other filmmakers you can kind of his colleagues you can kind of jump in at any point in their career, and they all roughly kind of like mature and stick with what they like most early on, but Godard is always changing. So his movies in the 70s are different from his movies in the 80s, and his movies from the 80s are different from his movies in the 90s, and so forth. And this motherfucker was making movies up until like he died recently a few years ago. Godard? He was in his 90s.
Godard?
Yeah. He made a movie in 3D that like did not use 3D. He, as in like one eye would see something else and the other one would fuck you up. It was a headache, but
why do you do that?
Because it's called Goodbye to Cinema. And he shot it digitally, and there's just like because he was still an experimental filmmaker at the heart of who he is as a filmmaker. You know.
When did he pass away?
Oh shit! Actually, let me look that up real quick. Give me some final thoughts while I look this up.
Made in U.S.A.
September 13th last year.
Oh shit!
He was 91, and the last movie he made, before he died was, come on, keep talking while I find this.
Mr. Godard presented a formal approach to a political stance in a genre film made in U.S.A. Yeah. It's worth watching once, possibly twice. After the second time, you'll understand it.
Actually, yeah.
That's the best way I could describe this to a virgin viewer.
The Image Book, 2018. It's his last feature-length film. So otherwise, he was making He was making shorts up until he pretty much died.
Where did he pass away?
Switzerland, his home.
Oh, what a European piece of shit. He made his money in France and was like, I'm dipping back. I'm going back to the motherland. They speak French in Switzerland?
They speak French, Italian, and German in Switzerland.
They don't have...
borders all three.
They don't have their own language?
No, it's usually German. German is the main language, I think, but then like depending if you're on the French part of the French or Italian, whatever side of the Alps, it's the Alps are whatever country the Alps are touching, they speak that language normally. So
shows how much I know.
it's all right. You'll eventually learn.
What about you, man? Do you have any closing thoughts on this?
It's been a while since I've seen it. It's cool to see it again. I still love this movie. I still see it's funny because like I said before, I grow out. Like I thought I outgrew Godard. I thought I just realized I just kind of do want to make movies that aren't calling attention themselves as movies, but I think I still keep that spirit in my practice as a filmmaker. But ultimately, I think I've kind of shifted over towards other filmmakers, and I think I've started to appreciate his colleagues more than him now. Before I used to not appreciate Francois Truffaut too much because it's just I don't know, he's less flashy than Godard. He's not he's less colorful. He's not calling attention to the process of making films. But now I really appreciate the tone that he's getting into. So, and then also, I also did Romer a lot, and I feel his kind of walking and talking movies are very I think they're more movies for writers, but also he picks the most beautiful spots and the most beautiful people to deliver his dialogue.
If you truly really did enjoy these people's work, why was this your number 2 pick?
What do you mean?
Made in U.S.A. is your second pick.
For our film? For our thing?
If you really like those other directors, why'd you choose this director's this movie?
Because we watched we watched the movie I directed that I ripped off of from this movie for when I made it.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
The other movie too was the movie he made a year before this in color, which was Perrault Le Fou, which is essentially almost a mishmash of everything he'd made before in one movie. It's his mission statement almost. But it's also a movie that I feel when you go through his other movies, by the time you get to this one, you see all the references and everything that he built up to that one with,
he used, I'll use this in this movie, I'm going to put it in this movie.
Yeah. So it's almost it's self-referential. But also I borrow a lot of stuff that he did that he kind of also ports over to this one as well.
So movies are just God's memory, right? So how do you think these people in 1960s were inspired by the films that they grew up watching?
They're in here.
From 1930s, 20s, the 1910s.
The French New Wave were
1940s, 50s.
The French New Wave essentially rejected the movies they grew up with that came out in France. Because they found that the filmmakers that were making movies in the U.S. were way more interesting. Because they called the traditional French filmmakers, I think they call it cinéma du papa, dad's movies, the movies of my father. So it's just these are movies that my parents watched.
Weren't the first films though on planet Earth from France?
Yes, but they don't care, because the Americans were making cooler, exciting movies. They were
they took it and did it better.
And they're we love what these guys are doing. There are auteurs here. There are these American filmmakers that are working within the American filmmaking system and leaving their mark, like the Hitchcocks and the Hawkses.
How can you recreate that 2023 and on?
What do you mean?
How can you make something out of nothing? How do you create something new? How you said they looked at legacy and just fuck that, and they created these experimental films.
Well, they took the films. They took filmmaking techniques that had either been pioneered before, but maybe never pushed more in a more mainstream cinema, and decided to add that in there. These guys were not working from nothing. They were writing reviews about American films and developing. These fuckers developed they invented the term film noir. So these guys were watching movies just wow, all these movies that are around World War II and after are super dark and gloomy. We love that. We're French. Okay. So but these are black films, film noir, because of their tone. But they're all different genres. They're most
noir
of them being
black.
Yeah.
I'm not French, fucker, man. Don't fucking hit me with that look.
Okay. But yeah,
You think I'm a cultured individual? I said fuck Jackie Brown.
Okay, you fucker. But yeah, it's just, it's that, man. How do you make a film out of nothing? You don't. You take everything you like about the films you like and you put it in your movies. That's why when you see somebody, like when you see amateur filmmakers, somebody who says, hey guys, let's get together to make a movie. They're taking everything that they saw a movie themselves and decided, fuck, I want to make that movie. I want to make this movie. I want to make my own movie. This inspired me to make my own movie. And then they're going to take stuff that they love from their movies and like put it in their own, or try to copy it as best as they can to do it. So yeah. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Like, you don't make a movie from nothing. And then the people who do make it from nothing are also very weird and odd, because it's just like, what the fuck did you learn to make movies from? Like, why? Well, this is a weird shot. You get guys like the Tommy Wiseaus and the Neil Breens out of that. Those are the guys who make movies out of nothing. Those are the guys who do not watch movies or think that they have the idea of how a movie works and then translate that into how they think a movie should look, and it never looks right.
I'm out of questions.
Okay, cool. What's your pick for next week?
Left Turn, Right Turn.
Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Left Turn, Right Turn?
That's probably Right Turn, Left Turn.
Not Mad Max Fury Road?
On the way here, I said fuck that.
Okay, because I have my own Blu-ray copy of that here at home. You didn't have to bring the case.
You brought up romance earlier, and I was just like,
hell yeah! Let's we've covered action movies and like weird foreign films so far. Let's take a left turn.
Fuck, I can't find it. Hold up, man. Movie. Yeah, it's for free.
Show me
on YouTube.
It's a Vietnamese movie, or
it's from Taiwan, but it's.
I'm in. You said the magic words,
which is a part of China. So it's...
you fucker! It's the original China. If by part of China you mean the actual original China, then yes.
So turn left, turn right. Movie.
What year is that from?
I think it came out in '96. I could.
Oh, so it's part of the Taiwanese New Wave.
You could call it whatever you want.
No, that's
what you're watching.
No, I like the Taiwanese movies, man.
Yeah.
Hold on, I think I've heard of that one before. Let me look this up real quick, because I think
there was a book about it first, and it was like just a picture book, and then they turned it into a movie. I could be wrong. But when you were bringing up romance, I
have a few Taiwanese films that I've watched that I enjoy a lot. Like I think I'm gonna butcher his name. Ho Shou Shen is one. Edward Yang is another. Actually, one of the movies I have in my collection is called I think Taipei Story. So,
where's Taipei?
In Taiwan. That's the capital.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
They say Taiwan's famous for microchips.
There's a building in there that's like a Kodak building. Okay. Let's see. I don't know, man. I don't know much about like the actual production stuff, but I do like the filmmaking that comes out of it, because it's very neon-y and like about alienated young beautiful people, which is what I like. But mostly, it's 2003. It's a romance, and it's directed by Johnny To, one of my boys, as well as Wai Ka Fai.
Turn left, turn right.
Turn left, turn right.
Okay.
2003. Hell yeah, we're watching that movie then.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
That's my pick for next week. So that's our homework. Nice. Watch films, enjoy them. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can watch this movie for free on YouTube, as Jonathan said.
Yeah. It's been on there for 9 years, so you don't have to worry about him deleting it.
And other as well as other means to get this film if you do not want to deal with the quality of YouTube or whatever. But yeah, it's on there. You can watch it. In the words of Spike Lee and his logo company, by any means necessary. Thank you for listening to this episode of Gudino and Enriquez.
Enriquez and Gudino.
Whatever, same thing.
E starts before G.
Okay, fine. Enriquez and Gudino.
Yeah.
Jonathan, if you please, do your little whistle sign off.